The police said my son was killed by a drunk driver. They told me to identify the body. I was ready for the worst until the officer added one sentence that made my knees buckle. "The car was registered to you, sir." And that's when I realized I wasn't supposed to be driving that night. I thought I'd misheard him. The words didn't fit together. "That's impossible," I said. "My car was in the driveway." The officer didn't argue. He just showed me a photo on his phone. My license plate, bent, covered in mud, found wrapped around a light pole 3 miles from our house. My wife let out a sound and sank into a chair. "Our son took the car," she whispered. The officer shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "The security camera shows the car leaving at 10:47 p.m. He paused, "and your son was already reported missing at 10:12. My chest tightened. "So who was driving?" I asked. The officer met my eyes. "That's what we need to find out," he said. "Because the driver survived." The room felt suddenly very quiet. "And there's something else," he added. I braced myself. "The driver told us," the officer said, "that your son wasn't alone when the accident happened." My wife looked up sharply. "He had a friend." The officer nodded once. "He said your son was trying to stop him." "Stop him from what?" I didn't want to know. "They let us see him an hour later. Not our son. The other boy, 17, bruised, one arm in a cast. He wouldn't look at us. I didn't know he was going to run," he said quietly. "Run from what?" I asked. He swallowed. "From me." The officer leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "The boys left a party," he said. "No alcohol in your son's system." My wife let out a shaky breath. "So he wasn't drinking," she whispered. The officer nodded. "But the driver was." The boy clenched his jaw. "He grabbed the keys," he said. I told him no. My hands trembled. "You let him drive my car." He finally looked up. "It was already running," he said. I was scared. The officer turned a page in his notebook. "Your son called 911, he said. My heart stopped. "He called?" "Yes," the officer replied. "At 10:51 p.m. I stared at him. "That's from minutes after the car left." The officer nodded. "He said one sentence," he continued, then stopped. "What did he say?" My wife whispered. The officer hesitated. "He said, 'Please hurry, he's going too fast.'" The room cracked open. Because my son hadn't been reckless. He'd been afraid. The boy started shaking. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he said. "I just wanted to get home." My wife stood up. "Then why didn't you stop?" she asked. His voice broke. "He tried," he said. "He grabbed the wheel." The officer's jaw tightened. "The crash wasn't instant," he said. "The car spun twice." I closed my eyes. "Your son was conscious," the officer continued. "For about 30 seconds. My wife covered her mouth. "He was alive." The officer nodded. He asked the driver to unlock the door. The boy's shoulders collapsed. "I couldn't," he whispered. "I was trapped." The room felt smaller. "The black box shows," the officer said, "that the car accelerated after the first impact." I opened my eyes. "Accelerated?" The officer looked directly at the boy. "Someone pressed the gas," he said. The boy shook his head violently. "I panicked," he cried. "I didn't know what I was doing." My fists clenched. "So my son was trying to escape," I said, "and you drove faster." Silence. The officer stepped forward. "There's more," he said. My heart sank again. "Another vehicle was hit," he added. A pause. "A woman and her child," my wife screamed. "They survived," the officer said quickly, "but barely." The boy began to sob. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about losing my son. It was about how many lives were broken in the seconds after fear took control. They asked us to step outside. Through the glass, I watched the boy's parents arrive. His mother collapsed when she saw him. His father just stood there, staring at the floor. An officer pulled me aside. "There's something we didn't tell you earlier," he said quietly. My stomach dropped. "The boy's blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit," he continued. "But that's not the twist." I felt numb. "Then what is?" He lowered his voice. "Your son didn't just try to stop him," the officer said. "He tried to save someone else." I frowned. "What do you mean?" The officer opened a tablet and showed me traffic footage. The car swerved sharply, not because of speed. Because a small figure ran into the road, a child, the officer said. From the other vehicle, I stared at the screen. The woman's car stalled after the first collision, he explained. Her daughter got out. My legs gave way. That's when your son grabbed the wheel, the officer said. He turned the car away from the child. The footage froze. The impact angle changed. Brutal, deadly. My son had taken the force. My wife dropped to her knees, so he knew, she sobbed. He knew what would happen. The officer nodded once. The doctors believe, he said, that decision cost him his life. Inside the room, the boy was screaming now. I didn't see her. But my son had, and he chose. The courtroom was silent when the footage played. Frame by frame, slow, unforgiving. You could see my son's hand reach across. You could see the steering wheel turn. The judge leaned forward. The boy sat pale, barely breathing. His lawyer argued panic, fear, youth, but the prosecutor didn't raise his voice. He pressed the gas, she said. After the first impact, the room felt heavy. Then she looked at us. And this young man, she continued, used his final seconds to protect a child he didn't know. My wife cried openly. I didn't stop her. The judge removed his glasses. This court recognizes, he said, an act of extraordinary courage. He paused. The defendant will live, he said, with the knowledge of who paid the price for his fear. The sentence was read. Prison time, mandatory rehabilitation, but none of it mattered. After the hearing, the woman approached us. The mother of the child, she held her daughter's hand tightly. This is her, she whispered. The little girl looked up at us. Thank you, she said softly, and in that moment, the world went quiet again. We sold the car. I couldn't look at it anymore. The driveway felt wrong without him. His room stayed untouched for months. Posters, shoes by the door. Sometimes I caught myself listening for his steps. The school held an assembly. They called him a hero. I hated that word at first, because heroes don't come home. But one evening, there was a knock on the door. It was the little girl, holding a drawing. 2 stick figures, one with a cape. This is your son, she said. He told me to run. I didn't remember sitting down, only the sound my wife made behind me. Later that night, I listened to the 911 call again. Please hurry, my son said. He's going too fast, then quieter. She's in the road. That was the last thing he ever said. Now, every time I hear tires screech at night, I think about choices, seconds, fear, and the cost of doing the right thing. This is Nightline. Some lives end too soon, but some moments last forever.